Yep, it's that time of the year, folks, Nike trail running shoe time. Now, if you've followed the channel for a while, you'll know that I've had a pretty bumpy ride with the Nike trail running department. And in fact, these, the Ultraflys, were probably my worst shoe and most disappointing shoe of 2023. I just found it a trail shoe of contradictions, you know. Nike said it is a responsive race day trail shoe when it's pretty heavy and poorly balanced. We've got their brilliant ZoomX foam in the midsole, yet it's been covered with this fabric to protect it, and it lost a lot of its pop and energy return. And it has to be the stiffest midsole I've ever run in. I know it's got a carbon fiber plate in it, but it is ridiculously stiff. So this really was a disappointing shoe for me, and probably the worst £230 I've ever spent. But at the channel, we are all about well, maybe not second chances, maybe fifth or sixth chance for the Nike trail running department, but never mind. We are all about second chances. So in today's video, we are going to give you the lowdown on the new Zegama Trail 2, and then I'm going to be lacing them up and taking them out for their first run. Welcome back, folks, and thanks for tuning in again. If it is your first time here watching one of our videos, then welcome. It's great to have you along, and I'm glad you found us. I'm Lloyd Purvis, and this is Run4Adventure, your friendly, informative, running-related YouTube channel. We try and cover a big mix of topics here at Run4Adventure, from running shoe and kit reviews to race day content, travel vlogs, and running tips and advice videos. But today is all about first impressions. So let's give you a few facts and figures about Nike's latest trail running offering, the Zegama Trail 2. Now, I had to dig pretty deep to find out the stats on this one because the information on the Nike website is very, very vague. But they retail in the UK for quite an expensive £165. Weight-wise, my pair in a UK 9.5 tipped the scales at 337 grams. So maybe not the lightest trail shoe in the world, but you can see we do get a big helping of cushioning in that midsole. And speaking of the midsole, they run on a 4mm heel offset, and you get a stack height of 36mm at the heel and 32mm under your forefoot. As far as the upper construction goes, Nike have utilised this twin-layered engineered mesh design. So we've got all these perforations working around the upper for increased airflow. We've got a nice padded gusseted tongue, so comfort across the top of my foot should be good today, and it should give me a nice lockdown around my midfoot. However, it is quite a busy looking upper, so there's lots of different fabrics and materials going on. From the material used on this built-in sort of ankle gaiter, we've got quite a stiff fabric around the lace eyelets, and we've got these two big pull tabs, one on the heel and one on the tongue. And I'm just hoping this isn't all style over substance. Moving down to the midsole construction, and you can clearly see we've got some ZoomX going on. Now, ZoomX foam from Nike is a PEBA-based foam, and it's used in a lot of their road shoes and their performance road running shoes. It's all about giving high levels of underfoot comfort and lots of energy return. So it does make it very comfy and very bouncy. The downside is it's a soft foam, so it can be quite unstable medially and laterally, which obviously isn't a great thing in a trail running shoe when you're running on uneven ground. So what Nike have done is they've sunk that bouncy soft ZoomX foam into a slightly firmer foam, so you're still going to get that ZoomX feel, but hopefully it's going to give you a much more stable and durable platform to run off. At first sight, I could totally see how you could think that there's no way the Zegama Trail 2 is only a 4mm heel offset, because we do have a big chunk of foam under the heel. However, it is a bit misleading, so you're actually sunk down into this midsole and you're not sitting on top of it. So this top section kind of forms a guide rail that wraps around your foot on the medial and lateral side of the shoe, and again, that's all to help when it comes to stability. I personally think this is a really good move by Nike because I did have some stability issues in the original Zegamas when I took them out on some more technical trails around the mountains of Chamonix. I actually almost went over on my ankle 4 or 5 times, which isn't great, especially when you're in the mountains. So I did have to slow down and take it really easy. So I've got all my fingers crossed that this is really going to help and it's going to improve overall stability. And last but not least, and you might have already noticed, that the Zegama Trail 2 is the second Nike trail shoe to feature the brilliantly sticky, vibrant Mega Grip rubber on the outsole. The first one being the Ultrafly. Unfortunately, it had a really shallow lug, so that was another one of my disappointments with this shoe. However, this outsole setup looks pretty good. So we got a nice chunky lug pan, forward facing chevrons on the forefoot, reverse facing chevrons on the heel. Unfortunately, no information about lug depth on the Nike website, so we had to grab out the Run4Adventure ruler, give them a quick measure, and it looks like we got a 4mm lug depth. So this outsole should offer pretty good levels of grip and traction on most surfaces. So there you have it, folks, the updated Zegama Trail 2 from Nike. I've got to be honest, I'm not sure about this colorway, but it was kind of the lesser of two evils, although now I'm seeing it in the flesh, it is growing on me a bit. I read a bit of interesting information about this shoe. Apparently, the Zegama Trail 2 is the most tested Nike trail shoe of all time, with thousands and thousands of miles being clocked up through that development phase. So I think it's time to pop off and get changed, get these laced up, and find out if all that testing has paid off. Just before I do that, I need to make sure my legs are nice and loose after taking on the incredible Ultra X 110 Scotland at the weekend. My legs got through it unscathed, Liga had a great time, it was an amazing weekend away, but I do feel a little bit tight. So I'm going to jump on the rollers and I'm going to grab my massage gun. And that's kind of the perfect segue into the sponsors of today's video, Bob and Brad. So the massage gun has become a really important body maintenance tool for me, pre and post run, and definitely gets a lot of use in this household, especially when we've been away and run a challenging event like Ultra X 110 Scotland. There was a combined elevation of about 3,400 meters over the 2 days, so the lower legs got a good workout pushing up all those big climbs, and my calves and shins are pretty tight. So we're going to start off with the big ball head. We're going to get in those calves and loosen them off nicely before we run today, and then I'm going to switch over to this bad boy, the pointed head, and I'm going to get in all those little grooves and the nooks and crannies in the lower leg, because that tends to be the area where I suffer. So let's fire up this bad boy and let's get massaging. Whoa, feels good. So that's all the massage with the ball head done. Now we're going to switch over to the pointy head. I would say go steady with this to start with. It can be quite intense in certain areas, but it really is a great massage head to have. Really useful for me getting into all those grooves in that lower leg. So we're going to finish off massaging with the Bob and Brad massage gun. Then I'm going to get the new Nike Zegama Trail 2s on my feet, and we'll see you guys out on the trails. Legs are tired, that's for sure. Okay, so 2 miles done. Like I just said, the legs are a bit tired. I mentioned it earlier that myself and Liga took on the Ultra X 110 Scotland at the weekend. So this is the Friday after the weekend. If you haven't been following us on socials, or this is your first time watching the channel, Ultra X 110 Scotland is a multi-day race up in Scotland. Obviously, you start at Inverness and then you circumnavigate Loch Ness. We didn't see the monster, but we had a great run. You do 60 kilometers on the first day and then 50k on the second day, with a combined elevation of about 4,400 meters. So as you can imagine, my legs are pretty tired. Obviously, you got all the traveling from Cornwall all the way up to the other end of the country, Scotland, and then back home again. So definitely needed a few days off running, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised with how my legs feel. Whenever you take on big races like that, obviously, you know, you have a bit of suffering, a bit of pain along the way, and you always hope that once you've recovered after the race, you have no lasting niggles. And so far, touch wood, the legs feel good. Like I said, a little bit tired, but no pain, no injuries, no niggles. As far as the Zegama Trail 2 goes, well, just like the original shoe, this upper fits my foot shape like a glove. I really did like the feel of the upper and the fit of the the upper of that original shoe, and it doesn't seem like a lot's changed. I would definitely say it's true to size, so this UK 9.5 is fitting just right on length. I would say toe box width is average. I wouldn't say it's narrow, I wouldn't say it's super wide either, and I've got a really good lockdown around my midfoot and a really good hold in the heel. So the plan for today's run is we're going to try and get in a real steady sort of 10k, 7 miles on the Towers here in Hale. We got another glorious blue sky day. It's been lovely weather the last few days here in Cornwall, and we definitely needed it. We've had a tough winter in the UK. Having this sunshine, it gives me energy. I'm like a lizard. So let's crack on with the run. Hopefully the legs will loosen up a bit more as we go, and it'll be a really good shakeout. And we're obviously going to get to test out this new Nike trail shoe. So let's get out there. Let's get running. When the sun is out in Cornwall like this, it really doesn't get any better. Look at them epic views, man. Amazing. We are on our way home. We're at 6.3 miles in. So I dare say it's going to be over 7 miles by the time we get back, and I am very happy with that. A good test for the shoe, but even better, the legs feel pretty good. I do feel a bit tired, you know, low on energy, but the legs feel strong. No niggles, no aches, no pain. So that's a big thumbs up from me, especially when I'm going to be taking on the awesome Centurion South Downs Way 100 in less than a month. So it's good that my legs are feeling all right. As far as the shoe goes, the Zegama Trail 2, feeling good so far. It's been a good test run. The upper, lovely and comfortable, no irritation, no rubbing, and like I mentioned, it fits my foot like a glove. And I reckon the Zoom X midsole is giving me a little bit more bounce, a little bit more pop than the original Zegama. On the firmer trails, on the section of road that I ran to get here, felt super bouncy and really comfortable. So yeah, so far so good. I don't know why I always talk to the camera going up a hill. You think I'd have learnt by now, I'm knackered. But yeah, almost home. Like I say, it's going to be probably 7.3, 7.4 miles, so really happy with that. But let's get back to the studio, and we're going to wrap this first impressions up with a quick conclusion. Okay, so we managed 7.6 miles by the end of the run in the glorious Cornish sunshine. So good to be out there running in a short sleeve technical t-shirt, and long may it continue. So as far as the performance of these go, the Zegama Trail 2 from Nike, going to start at the top with the upper first, and I don't really have anything negative to say about it. You know, it clearly works really well for my foot shape. I felt very secure in every way, great lockdown around my midfoot, good hold in the heel, no slippage or movement within the shoe, and no irritation or rubbing straight out the box. So overall performance of the upper is good for me. The only thing I would say is I'm not sure how well it would cope with hotter conditions. Now, I know the sun was out on today's run, but we're in the UK, so it was only about 17 degrees, so no issues today. But you know, if I was running overseas in a hot race, then I think it might struggle a bit, although there is lots of perforations all over the upper, so that might help when it comes to breathability. But I do think this upper might run quite warm when the temperatures go up. However, I am a little bit disappointed there's no toe bumper, so it is very soft up front. not ideal if you're going to be running on sort of rocky technical trails, especially if you're going to be running distance in these when you start to get sort of tired and drag your feet. So I think the addition of a toe bumper would have been a good idea, but overall, I'm a big fan of how this upper fitted and felt on today's run, just like I was in the original Zegamas. Like I mentioned out on the run, this new ZoomX midsole setup felt like it was a little bit bouncier underfoot when I compare it to the previous version, especially on the more compacted trails and the sections of tarmac, and you'd have no issues crossing over to long sections of road in between the trails in the Zegama too. Really does offer you a nice comfortable level of cushioning on the hard stuff. I also felt like it was returning me a good amount of energy, which was actually perfect with how my legs were feeling after running Ultra X 110 Scotland at the weekend. Even though the stack height of that midsole has been increased this time, you know, because you're sunk down into that midsole and you've got this sort of guide rail wrapping around your foot, they felt pretty stable out there on the Towers. Obviously, the biggest test will come when we get out on some more technical stuff, and we'll definitely be doing that over the coming weeks. The only thing I would say is, with Nike saying that this is a 4mm offset, it did feel quite dominant on the heel, and if I didn't know that information, I would have guessed it's more like an 8 to 10mm heel offset, which is a bit strange. I put it down to the fact that, you know, there is a big chunk of cushioning wrapping around the heel. And last but not least, the all-important outsole. Now, it was very dry on today's run, so no mega test for outsole performance, but we know Nike have added the super sticky Vibram Mega Grip rubber, so that can only improve the outsole performance of the Zegama. And we've got another Nike trail shoe that we can trust when we're running on wet, rocky trails. Also, the lug depth and pattern is pretty good. I think the shoes might still struggle in the muddiest and boggiest of conditions, but I think outsole grip and traction will actually be pretty good on everything else. So wrapping up, and it was a pretty positive first run in the new Nike Zegama Trail 2, and not a massive difference when it comes to feel, fit and performance compared to the previous version. I think the biggest difference obviously is we've now got some rubber that we can trust on the outsole. I also think it would have been nice if Nike had stripped the shoe back a bit, maybe losing 20 or 30 grams along the way. I also think it would have been very easy to do with this shoe, you know. We could have lost a few of the unnecessary items on the upper, say these big tabs on the heel and the tongue, this very stiff and quite thick material around the lace eyelets, and we've got an increased stack height, and I'm really not sure we needed that in the Zegama because the original midsole felt nice and comfortable, and that would have saved that weight and maybe got them down to closer to 300 grams, which would have made them feel lighter obviously and maybe a bit more responsive. But there you have it. That is my initial thoughts on Nike's latest trail running offering, the Zegama Trail 2. I'll definitely be racking up some more miles over the coming weeks in these. I'm going to try and get out on some much more technical trails to give them a real thorough testing, and then we'll be back on the channel with a full in-depth review. But really hope you've enjoyed this video, really hope you found it helpful. Don't forget, if you have, to like, comment, share and subscribe, because it really is a big help to the channel. Got to say a big shout out to Bob and Brad for sponsoring this video. If you are in the market for a massage gun, I've left a link to their website in the description below. They've got a great range of quality massage guns at a budget to suit everyone, so it's definitely worth checking out. But for now guys, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, it's really appreciated, and as always, stay safe and keep on running. The first shoe was actually these, the Ultraflys, but it did have a really shallow lug, which was another one of my disappointments. However, this lug, like I mentioned out on the run, this ZoomX midsole setup actually felt like it was a bit bouncier underfoot compared to the previous version, and you know, the Nike website is pretty vague, so they retail for quite an expensive 136. Nah.